That's the first time I've ever seen him go off. The first time in his lifetime.
It surprised you too, huh?
It did. It did. As I said, I've never seen him.
Our union is a sloppy public experiment It is a sloppy public experiment in unconditional love. Jada's the best friend I have ever had on this planet. And I am going to show up for her and support her for the rest of my life.
That's the first time I've ever seen him go off. The first time in his lifetime. It surprised you too. Huh? It did. As I said, I've never seen him. Our union is a sloppy public experiment. It is. It is sloppy public experiment in unconditional love. Jade is the best friend I have ever had on this planet, and I am going to show up for her and support her for the rest of my life. We are back again with another twist in the Will Jada Smith saga, and this time Will Smith's mother has allegedly dropped her 2 cents on everything that has been going on with her son and his family. Will Smith's mother, Caroline Bray, has expressed her disapproval of Jada Pinkett's antics and her surprise at how Will acts around Jada, which is totally unlike the son she knew and raised. She believes there is more to it than meets the eye, and that Jada might be secretly performing in witchcraft to keep her son under bondage. This is an interesting angle to explore. So let's get right to it. Caroline Bray and her son Will Smith have been through tough times together, starting when Will was just a child. Will's father, Willard Carroll Smith Sr., was an alcoholic and aggressive man who often took out his anger on his children, and wife, Will, being the eldest son, was the most exposed to his father's violent outbursts. He disclosed in his memoir that his father's aggression was mainly targeted towards him and his mother. This made Will and Caroline very close, as they offered each other emotional support through the hard times. Caroline and Willard eventually divorced, and Will and his father got closer shortly before his father died. But Will's strong bond with his mother has not faded a bit. She has also been a solid rock in his career and has been there through his losses and wins. When Will won the Oscar for Best Actor for his performance as Richard Williams and King Richard, she was right there, full of joy and pride for her son. I am proud of him being him. I know how he works, how hard he works. I've been waiting and waiting. When I heard the name, I was just yes. This is why it has been heartbreaking for Caroline to see Will stuck in a toxic relationship, repeating the same cycle she went through with her husband Willard. For Caroline, the most unbelievably shocking thing that has happened with Will was watching him go up on stage and hit another man in the face over a joke. The 2022 The slap Oscar will go down in history as one of the most memorable because of that single action it generated. A lot of backlash from the public, but the people most stunned by Will's actions were people in his inner circle who knew Will very well. One of them is, of course, his mother, Caroline. According to Caroline, she had never seen her son act out like that in her life. She knew Will as a kind and peace-loving person, absolutely not the type of person who would choose violence if there was an alternative. Even his siblings know him to be kind and generous. Will's younger brother, Harry, once told people in an interview that despite Will being punished by their father every time their father got into one of his moods, Will always found a way to make his siblings smile. He'd go around a corner and make faces so we'd laugh and we'd get punished. Worse, he told people, so to see Will act in that manner on such a big stage, it was beyond comprehension. Caroline confessed that the incident left her deeply disturbed about Will's mental and emotional health. In her interview with a BC Philadelphia affiliate of EFEFCV, she expressed her worry over the kind of influence Jada might be having on him. In the interview, she said he is a very even people person. That's the first time I've ever seen him go off, first time in his lifetime. I've never seen him do that. When you critically examine all the evidence from that Oscars incident, it is hard to come to any conclusion other than that Jada does have some kind of woo-woo control over Will. When Chris Rock initially joked about Jada's alopecia, Will seemed to take it in good sport and laughed. He didn't seem agitated at all until he saw Jada roll her eyes with that single action of Jay. Will suddenly realized that the joke was offensive after all. As if under a spell, he ignored the fact that he was at the Oscars with the whole world watching marched up to the stage and gave Chris a good smack in the face right after Will makes what is undoubtedly one of the biggest mistakes of his career. You can see Jada lurch forward, as though she is laughing. Jada talked about that night extensively in her newly released memoir, Worthy, according to her in the book, that slap was a critical point in her and Will's marriage and 6-year separation. She wrote, "What I knew for the first time in 6 years since our breakup was that I would stand with him in this storm as his wife no matter what." Jada continued, "I had not felt that way in a long time. I would not abandon him, nor would I fight his fight for him like I had tried to do so many times in the past. So let me get this straight. If Will had not gotten up and embarrassed himself at the Oscars that night, would Jada never have realized that she had to stand by Will through thick and thin? I don't know about you, but it seems like, in Jada's words, the slap was some test of his loyalty to her. The fact that she can ask him to do something as ill-advised as that to prove himself to her speaks to the amount of control Jada wields over Will. And if that doesn't sound diabolical, I don't know what is." He laughed at that bad joke that Chris said like everybody else. And then Jay looked at him and it was like the man on Candidate Man. Not the man goddamn, not the band goddamn. It even Jaguar right. Couldn't help but notice how Will slapping Chris Rock was unnatural for Will. In her interview with Real Life Production, Jaguar talked about how she suspected Jada was engaging in hocus pocus to control Will and make him do her bidding. She also mentioned that thanks to Jada, the couple has traumatized and abused so many young men in Hollywood, like Meek Mill and August Elena. They're both bi. They do weird things in their house, and young men have left their house screaming to get away from them. In their mentorship, Meek Mill basher Gray left that house screaming August the only one that stayed. And I guess he was really sick. He needed a dog. She added that Will and Jada are bi, and they may have done things together that will be too disastrous for their careers to survive. If you separate, maybe that's another reason why they continue to stick together. It has gotten so bad that Will's close friends are coming out to talk about how they fear for Will's well-being in his relationship with Jada. One of Will's close friends, Bilal, granted an interview with Comedy Hype where he got candid about his relationship with Will and how that relationship has suffered due to Jada. According to Bale, Will was like an angelic person to him. Through their decades-long friendship, Bell has watched Ed will grow into a generous, kind, and awe-inspiring person. Unfortunately, their friendship started to go downhill when Will met Jada, who immediately took over so much of Will's life that it began to change Will and make him a twisted person, despite Jada's recent outburst and the dozens of interviews she has given trying to air out everything that has happened between her and Will in their decades of marriage. Will is still here supporting her and keeping up the image of the dutiful and loving husband. And during Jada's book signing event at Pratt Libraries, Will gave a heartfelt speech in Jada's honor. Jade is the best friend I have ever had on this planet, and I am going to show up for her and support her for the rest of my applause life. That would have been a very romantic and touching moment if we didn't know just how tumultuous Will and Jada's relationship has been, from the numerous entanglements and infidelities to the separation. Jada's confession that she never even wanted to marry Will, and their strange parenting style. Streets are saying Will continues to take every blow Jada dishes out because she has him under a spell. One person commented, "This is witchcraft." After the nonsense Jada pulled, no man in his right mind would continue to be a part of her life. Another said, "Jada is so overrated and extremely insecure. She uses witchcraft by dangling past relationships to crush men's egos. That gives her power." Also, Jat does witchcraft. "I'm convinced no way Will is this hook." Ed on a woman who continues to play in his face, given everything we know about them. It's hard to argue against that logic, although there is always the fact that Will is a grown man who can make decisions for himself. So the big question is, if it is not witchcraft, why does Will continue to stay with Jada? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Also, check out this next video before you music leave.